Hey guys, my name is Akshita. I'm a data analyst and a travel enthusiast.
I'm Anagh. I'm a finance bro and a tech geek. And you're listening to The Why Quadrant, the weekly podcast where we discuss the why behind human society and behavior.
Lessons from pop culture and our own experiences to lead a more intentional, efficient, and happy life.
Hi Akshita.
Hey Anagh, how are you?
I feel like now at this point, we should not even have this introduction section. We can just cut and paste from the previous episodes, like we have the intro.
I swear. I feel like every time I actually speak to you, even non-podcasty, it just feels like a podcast after some time. Oh shit.
I know.
Yes.
That is funny. Okay, so I
Do you
don't
want
know
to
if I want to
introduce
ask you how's your week been, because yeah, let's just jump over. So today's guest for the podcast today is my very good friend. We've been, obviously you're supposed to come on the podcast, but we wanted to get like a nice juicy topic when we got him on board. So we wanted to have a few serious topics, a few dry topics in, so that when the juicy topic comes in, people we have a few viewers. So today I'm very excited to introduce Dhruv Chhabra. And Dhruv, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Dhruv Chhabra. I'm from New Delhi, India. Grew up here. Attended school from nursery to high school in Noida at Amity International School in Uttar Pradesh. I have been living in a joint family of 6 members since day one, I would say, and it's been a ride. Not too many people in the house, but not too less. I do have an annoying elder sister. She's gonna kill me after hearing annoying. But after high school, I went on to pursue Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering at Penn State University, and that is in Pennsylvania, United States. And while I was there at Penn State, I was quite heavily involved with Thorn. That is a student-run year-long fundraiser that ends with a 46-hour long dance marathon in support of pediatric cancer. And after graduation from college, I joined Timothy Haas and Associates as a project engineer, where I was involved in engineering of new design and restoration of several parking garage structures. In addition to fulfilling my professional duties, I was leading a lot of community initiatives like construction and Habitat for Humanity team projects. Towards the end of my 3-year tenure, I probably realized it was time to hang my engineering shoes and take up management and strategy as a career, because I was more passionate towards that. So I decided to move back to India in 2019 and join my dad's business, which is into manufacturing and trading of ball bearings. And I've been here since, working as a business manager. It's pretty good, but I'd like to move on, get an MBA, and do something of my own in the electric vehicle industry. Apart from career and goals, I would say I'm an avid reader of biographies and an electric vehicle enthusiast, a travel lover, an ice hockey fan when it comes to watching sports live because of how rough the game is, and a big cricket buff when watching on TV. I can't watch cricket games in the stadium, they're way too long. And I do enjoy being in the nature. Hiking and camping are something that really quench my thirst for connecting with nature. So that's something I can do anytime. And the last thing last but not the least, I would like to mention about myself is I love skydiving. For me, when you're falling from the plane, that's like nirvana time. So I would recommend everyone to go skydiving whenever they can. And recently I've started to learn French, and hopefully I can get fluent soon and travel around France and Montreal and 29 other countries that have French as a national language. I look forward to speaking here with you Anagh and Akshita today.
Wow, that's quite an introduction.
I'm
Dhruv.
actually
There were-
speechless, yeah, because I feel like I learned so much about Dhruv in the last 3 minutes than I did in the last 3 months. But that's amazing. There's so many new things that I've learned about you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Saying I was going to say the exact same thing. I've learned so much new information about you, Dhruv. You've been quite quite secretive about all of this in the past. Just never came up. Anyway, now let's get to the topic of the evening, which is extremely exciting. And the topic is why is the friend zone a concept in society? And I believe Dhruv would like to start off by talking about where the concept and the phrase came up.
See, I think when we chose this topic, I kind of really thought about it and went back to Google, which is, I think, our best friend these days. So the whole concept of friend zone comes from popular culture, the TV show Friends. There was this episode, the one with the blackout, where Joey tells Ross he's the mayor of the friend zone. And from there on, this whole, I would say, concept took a real face where young adults use it more often when a person, let's say person A, is romantically or sexually attracted to another person B, and but the attraction is not really mutual, and B doesn't really want that attraction to take a real form, but just stay friends. Then A goes into this so-called friend zone, which is just in the minds of people. It's like just the psychological concepts, I would say.
Okay, I think that's a fair definition. I don't have anything to add to that. But let's come to the juicier bits. Let's go around talking about whether we've been on the receiving or giving end of putting someone in the friend zone. Dhruv, do you have any experience of being or putting people in the friend zone?
Oh, plenty. I have been pushed into the friend zone several times. Or I mean, like, I wouldn't even say pushed.
I love the word push. Like,
I was
I think I love it.
an even better word would be, I'd say my stupidity or immaturity didn't even allow me to get out of the friend zone. It was like, you get one-way ticket into that, and then with your behavior, and then you can't get out. So, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this whole thing, nice guy syndrome, which is kind of a concept that, like somewhere in the back of our heads, it's typically a guy, I would say. Guys usually act nice and gentle towards a lady, and it's basically they have an hidden expectation that the girl will either get into a relationship with them or have sex with them. But when that doesn't become a reality, the guy kind of feels becomes passive aggressive, and the girl doesn't really want that toxic behavior in her life. And it's also mentally disturbing, because one day the guy is your best friend, the next day he's acting passive aggressive. So to prevent that behavior, she just tells him that, hey, I'm not really interested in you, but we should really be friends. I don't want you to go away from my life. You should, like, I care about you, but as friends. Which, I mean, sometimes it's true, but most times it's not. It's just that some guys cannot take rejection and they go crazy. So in order to prevent that crazy behavior, girls just want to play safe, and they just say, let's just be friends. And I know this because I've been on the receiving end, and I have been one of those guys, like there was a point of time when I did the same thing. Like I acted, super nice, thinking that, that girl X probably will someday fall for me, which never happened. But, I definitely spoiled the whole friendship scene, and also kind of messed up the whole, I would say, her dynamics of trusting people, because the next guy who actually wants to be friends with her will be pushed away from her because I messed her trust up. So yeah, that has been my experience, which I grew out of and learned a lot through other life experiences. But yeah, that's my take so far.
Oh, that's very honest, and thank you for sharing that, Dhruv. So, I mean, this whole discussion about the friend zone has been, to be put bluntly, what people say is that men masquerade as nice guys, and they feel that women are sort of these vending machines where you put in kindness, and then you get like sex in return, to put it extremely bluntly. But I don't think the problem is 100% with the guys as well, because if you look at popular media, you look at movies, TV shows, they all make you believe that you have these friendships, you do nice things, you be there, and then eventually like you'll get the girl, and that's the route to go. The other thing is it's extremely stressful for most guys to think of just going straight up to a girl and expressing some sort of romantic interest, because you were putting yourself up to rejection. Whereas going the friend quote route is a less risky way, because you're never really putting yourself out there, you're not putting yourself up for rejection immediately, and you hope that you're going to be in a better situation, a better position to maybe increased your odds, and that actually never happens. From the girl's perspective, I feel that in terms of, I mean, sure, attraction and all of these things build over time, but my personal opinion is that at least initially, in fact, for most people, in the first few seconds or first few minutes of meeting someone, whether you're going to be attracted to someone or whether you want to give that person a shot or not. And if you don't approach them in that context and they're not seeing you in a different context, uh, after that, it's very difficult to undo that, or as they say, get out of the friend zone. So I personally don't even have the patience. So I have actually never been put into the friend zone, because I don't have the patience to go this sort of long route of being friends with someone and then hoping to make it happen. So throughout my life, even in undergrad, I've been like, if I meet someone within a week of meeting them, and if I'm single at the time, they're single at the time, I would have asked the question to take that person out on a date. Now my rejection, I mean, I've been rejected as much as anyone going the friend zone route would have been, but at least I met someone, got rejected in 3 days, and then that was it. After that, we were okay to move. Going the friend zone route is problematic because you spend so much time into that relationship, expecting something, and you don't get out of it. Your idealized future version of that relationship does not happen, so you feel disappointed. And for her, like you said, she starts feeling, then what ends up happening is that any nice action from any male is seen in the lens of, is he trying to kind of get in my pants, and that sort of happens. So yeah, I don't know how to proceed with this discussion. What are your thoughts on what I just said?
I think you're absolutely right. Like there are two perspectives to it, like the guy side and the girl side.
Yeah.
And I think a great analogy for the girl side would be, if in general, if a person has two food dishes in front of them, one is a bland pasta or a bland salad, and then second is a super spicy pork rib, then any normal human being would go for the spicy pork rib and not for the bland salad. It's just general human psychology. That's what you do. And like this whole concept of that girls fall for bad guys and not for nice guys, that's all false, created by movies or popular culture, and in general, as human beings, like a guy or a girl, we tend to look for dynamic people, which is more so like they are, let's just say, a well cooked salad with some seasoning and a little bit of spice. So yeah, like a guy who is emotionally independent, a guy who has hobbies, interests, who is not clingy, or is not trying to be super nice or super available to the girl he's into, and is confident in himself, or vice versa. A girl who wants to stay away from the friend zone will have to do the same things. You need to grow as a person first before trying to get into a relationship, which a lot of people don't really understand during college or when they are in the young adult phase. So like I would say that, yeah, like generally talking, I would say that like the whole friend zone thing is because people are not able to understand that like they need to be mature first in a lot of spheres, like mental, physical, emotional, and intellectual, before they can actually have a genuine partner in their life. So that's why I guess people fall into this whole friend zone, because they're not, a girl or a guy wouldn't doesn't think that the other person is ready to match their expectation.
Interesting. Very, very deep take on friend zone, this entire concept of friend zones. So I don't know if I completely agree with both of you. I mean, I do, but there's also a different and a very, very casual side to this friend zone concept. It's literally what it says. It's literally me telling, or any female or a guy telling the other person, hey, I'd rather just be friends. That's it. I mean, sometimes there's nothing else to it. There's nothing more to it. There's nothing less to it. Nothing underlying that we need to dig down and deep. It's basically that, hey, I'm not interested in a romantic relationship, but we can continue to stay friends. And I think that's what I've seen most. People who have been friends for a long time, one of them has started developing feelings for the other. And if the other person's not on board with it, the other person has been mature enough to say it out loud and say that, hey, I'm not interested in you this way, but I'd rather stay friends. And that's when that guy or the girl or whoever it is on the receiving end of it takes it as the friend zone. So yeah, I don't know if it's always as deep as what we think it is, but sometimes it's just very plain and simple. Just the fact that I would rather be friends with you than go down the route of a relationship. And whatever, like if it goes great, great. If it doesn't go great, then you end up spoiling the relationship, like the friendship that you have, right? I think that's what Dhruv and Anna, both of you all said. So that's what I've seen. And for a few people, they do take this friend zone concept well. I mean, few guys and girls, they're like, okay, fine. If you rather stay friends, I accept that. I agree with it, and cool. Let's close this chapter right here. But then some people are butthurt, like they don't get that rejection. They don't understand why they're rejected, and how can they be friends after opening their heart out to the person. So yeah, it also sometimes it does tend to you know I wouldn't say damage relationships between friends, but yeah, somehow it changes, dynamics change between people after they've revealed this and after they go into the friend zone. Like, even if one person on day 50 of their friendship is a super close friend, and then that person goes and tells somebody how they feel, day 51 might be a completely different dynamics between the two of them. So it's a thing. I don't know if it's a positive. I don't know if friend zone is a positive concept, a negative concept, but sometimes it is positive because you're just being open about the fact of what you want. You're being clear that, hey, no, I don't want this, but I want you as a friend. And sometimes it's negative because you just dismiss somebody by saying, I'd rather be friends, without even either valuing that friendship, or the friend zone. Now the word now is used for anybody, even if it's a stranger who's coming and talking to me for 2 days, and he says something, and if I say no, we'd rather stay friends, he's not a friend. I mean, it just kills the entire friend word as well. So quite a different things going on in this particular concept. But yeah, that's my take.
So there are two things in this. One is the use of the word friend. We talked about this with the episode with Oni that we had also. Like, we throw it around as a very disposable word where basically any sort of classmate, acquaintance, co-worker, friend. And
True.
saying that, I see you as a friend is just a polite way of saying no, rather than saying that, sorry, I'm not interested in you, or not, I'm not attracted to you. That's more offensive and offending rather than just saying that I see you as a friend. And like, on one hand, I don't think that, like you said, that it's just that person does not want to, just does not want to be in a relationship, so they're like, okay, fine, I just want us to be staying friends. You'll never say that to someone that you also reciprocate those feelings for. You only say that to people that even some other variants of, like, I'm not looking for a relationship, I just be friends. Like, all those things are just polite ways of saying that I'm not interested. And the challenge after that becomes, if you start taking that at its like core message, like at face value, that, oh, she wants to stay friends, so then you continue being friends, hoping that she'll turn around, or if she says that I'm not interested in a relationship right now. The other thing is that the intention with which you go into that sort of, or propagate that relationship slash friendship. Like, if the guy is going out of his way to do things for the girl that and I mean, let's face it, this whole friend zone concept for the most part means the guy being friend zone. It's very specific to heterosexual cis relationships. uh Guy being friend zoned by the girl, he'll go do things for her which he probably would not have done for any other male friend or a female friend that he wasn't interested in. And he will only do that because he feels that eventually that will pan out to. Now, at this point, I want to point out that, okay, fine, guys are extremely wrong in claiming themselves to be nice guys and their niceness being conditional on their romantic feelings being reciprocated. But I also feel that sometimes women take advantage of this. Women are not dumb to see that a guy is going out of his way to do things which he would not do for other male friends or other female friends. And so, I mean, if they feel, if they start identifying that, they should nip it in the bud rather than take advantage of it till the point where he pops the question. She says that, "Oh, I'm not. I see you as a." But I mean, in general, I feel that just going this route has been propagated by popular media, which is just a very toxic way our society is developed. And in terms of approaching relationships, if you feel attracted to someone, you should just go pop the question rather than be like, oh, I should be friends with someone, I should do favors for that person, and hopefully someday that person will.
I absolutely
Yep.
agree with you.
True.
And
Yeah, even I
also,
do.
what Akshita mentioned earlier, that like friend zone can have a positive meaning sometimes, but the today's popular definition is more of negative. And that's also because I would say, like, depends how mature is the guy and how well they can handle rejection and how well they understand that what the girl really means when she says that I just want to be friends with you. Like some guys can think of it as, let's say, like a guy might think that he's not cool enough not to date that girl, or a mature guy on the other hand would think that, okay, like the other person does not have feelings for me, so time to move on, we can just be friends, and this is not working out, end of story. And so, but like these days, because there is kind of lack of knowledge, awareness, or education when people are growing up during teenage, that how to understand feelings or mental health and all those things, and psychology basically. And that's why we really learn a lot of stuff from popular culture, either negative or positive, which is mostly negative, which our brain grasps, and we end up implementing that in our real life. So thus, like, that's why most guys tend to take the longer route of becoming acting or becoming nice to get the girl, and they never end up getting the girl. Yeah.
I agree. That's a very good point you brought up. That I mean, even I growing up in like middle school, high school, undergrad, I only had popular media to look up to for kind of advice on how to go about this whole this concept of relationships, approaching people in relationships. And you're right, popular media is like people's go-to, and uh, it's extremely unrealistic in the way a lot of things are depicted in it. So just going by that, and I mean, having some sort of a I guess if I had an older brother who I would have spoken about stuff like this, I things would have been different. And I guess for most people, the other thing is, in your teenage years you don't have a lot of experience. So like, for example, if a girl rejects you, you see that as a rejection of you rather than just incompatibility. As you get older and more mature, you have some more experience. So then when a girl rejects you, you're like, we were not compatible, but that she's not rejecting you as a person because you've had experiences in the past where you were not rejected. There were women who were attracted to you. But in your teenage years, your ego and your insecurities are at an all-time high. Your ego is very fragile. Your sense of self-worth is extremely fragile. So when that at that point of time something like this happens, then it can be quite catastrophic. Yeah. So, I mean, friend zone as a concept shouldn't exist in society because it's I mean, I feel like both the parties involved in this are to blame. One, the first party who's trying to do favors in exchange for expecting something without putting out those intentions, and the second party for leading that person. and rather we should be more upfront about it. But I want to talk or ask a question about like taking a step back and some more theoretical or spiritual question. Do you feel that two cis straight people who are of the opposite gender and single, can they, if they get close, only be friends for, like, can they only be friends without one of the two developing, catching?
I
Oh,
think
is this
yes.
the classic question of can a girl and a guy stay friends?
Yeah. Because that then leads to this whole question about the friend zone. But do you feel that?
I think the concept of friendship, genuine friendship, is totally different from friend zone. Like genuine friendship between a guy and a girl can totally happen, and I have many, I would say female friends. Like, and I think
Yeah.
one of them is our mutual friend, and so like
No, so
she and I.
Dhruv, my qualifier to that question is I also have a lot of female friends, but my qualifier is you both are single at the same time, and there is basically nothing stopping you from dating each other, and then you continue to only, because all my other female friends that I have, I've made those friendships at a time where I was involved with someone or they were involved with someone. So the logistics of us were really getting together never happened. And I believe in the common friend you were mentioning also that was.
So to specifically answer that question, I would say it really depends when you meet that person, in what phase of life. Like if you meet that person
Mm-hmm.
in that young age where you're still, growing emotionally and trying to understand life, I would say at that point, yes,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it can happen. A guy can fall for for the girl, or the girl can fall for the guy. That can totally happen, and it has happened with me like one or two times in the past. But when you're in
Mm-hmm.
a different phase of life, let's say you're like at the age of 28, or early 30s, and at that time, if two people, a guy and a girl, are single and they meet, and even though they grow close, if they know they will just want to be friends with each other, they will stay friends. Like they won't. The maturity level really matters in that case. If even one of them is not mature enough, then the whole concept of friend zone will enter, because one person will fall for the other, and then they go back to friend zone, and we come back to level one. So,
Yeah, I think in your
Okay,
question, Anagh, the
so let
most
me back up even further. So
important.
what I'm trying to, yeah, sorry, what I was trying to get at was that if there is two people who are single, of opposite genders, and they make for good friends, what is the difference in the recipe for two people to meet each other to become good friends versus two people to get into a relationship? If all the other variables, logistics, where they are in life, whether they're dating other people, if you remove all of that, where they are, like, everything else works out for them to, like, nothing, there's nothing stopping them from being in a relationship. So that is what my question is, like, what is the difference between when two people get into a relationship versus when two people become very good friends? And when I say good friends, as in both parties feel that sort of friendship. Not, it's not that one person is trying to do favors for the other person in the hopes of getting some reciprocity.
Attraction, that's it. I mean, two friends can be friends. I mean, assuming your question is that the two friends that you're talking about who are good friends and reciprocating the same kind of friendship do not have uh, that tension, that attraction between them. So I think
Right.
that's one of the most important factors, because the second there's a spark, or it's happened, people have stayed brother sister friendship for years, and then there's been this one day or this one night or whatever, this one situation where they've felt that spark and that tension, and then things have just changed going forward. So that element of, even though there is chemistry can be there between two friends as well, but that level of attraction is what is important. Some people confuse chemistry with attraction. I do not believe that. Like, I can have a very good rapport, very good chemistry with somebody, but I might not be romantically involved or wanting to be involved with that person. But the second that there is some level of attraction between us, that is where it might not be possible to just stay friends, because the second one person starts acting on it, things can go upwards, downwards, whatever. So I think attraction is the one word that really matters in this entire situation.
true, true,
Okay.
true. Akshita is totally right, and I think if we come back to the whole concept of like guys looking for, you know, being nice to really make them feel attracted to the girl, they end up doing stupid things, nice things. In their mind, they're doing super nice things. Like I would say, there is a guy I know who uh, did a 4 hour round trip to get special handmade chocolates for the girl he was into at the time. And I mean, now it definitely sounds stupid, but at that point of time, that guy was probably thinking, it would really be nice and the girl would appreciate it. I mean, the girl did take chocolates at that time, but like it didn't really create that attraction. It was just a gesture of niceness. Though in the guy's mind at the time, he thought that this would create attraction and this would like develop some kind of further chemistry that would turn into something, but that cannot be created by acts of niceness. Like there has to be that additional quotient that, I mean, at least a simple brain can't understand. And like even I know another friend who has flown about done a 5 hour flying round trip, uh, just to spend a day with this girl he was into, but then ended up getting friend zoned. So like I know a lot of guys, and I've been there too, who have done a lot of nice things in return of getting friend zoned. And so coming back to Akshita, like that attraction is really important. If that attraction is missing, the guy can do n number of nice things, and it won't help.
Okay, so now I am very confused because I understand attraction is important in relationships, but the way attraction, from what I understand about the way attraction works between men and women, men are very visual creatures where you see someone and you find them attractive or not. Women, I mean, obviously they are visual creatures as well, but there are other components to it which probably takes time to assess. And maybe I guess that is where this whole friend zone thing comes in, because then guys feel that since women take time to assess, they can use that time to increase their odds of being attractive to the woman in question. And then they do all of these things, and then I don't know what the deadline is for that to happen, and they basically get stuck doing that over and over again, and they reach a point where. So honestly, having this discussion, I'm even more confused about how all of this works than we before we started with it. uh,
It is quite a confusing concept. I mean, there's so many things to this entire. I mean, not just relationship, but just this connection between two people, whether it is friend zone, whether it is attraction, whether it is whatever. There's so many factors that go behind it. Like as Anagh said, he's more confused than he was in the starting of this discussion. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's different ways to look at it, and different people. Again, I saw things in a different way than Dhruv and you, Anab, did. So I'm interested to see how it goes forward for you, how you start thinking about it going forward. Where does your confusion lead you to?
I mean, now I feel like this whole concept of friend zone and dating also talks about a very specific kind of dating where you know, either you have a classmate or a coworker that is being talked about in question. Because the other kind of dating which you start doing more once you get out of school is you meet people on like a dating app, a dating website, or you meet people on the street, and or you meet them in a club. That kind of a dating is different because there the whole intention and the agenda is up front and center that you're here for dating. Whereas when you talk about dating a classmate or a coworker, that's when this whole concept of friend zone can even come into. There are other reasons for you to apart from romance. So I mean, I've honestly not given it much thought in the past few years because I haven't been in a situation where that could be a problem. But thinking about it and reminiscing about it, I don't have any answers anymore. This is probably the first episode of the podcast where I am more confused and without any answer. What do you guys like? How would you conclude our discussion, Akshita?
I mean, I would say that there are some things you can only learn and understand by experience. I hope you never get the chance to understand it, but yeah, that's my take.
I think
So like,
friend zone can. I feel like there's a massive lag today, unfortunately. So I'm cutting off Anag. Please continue.
no, sorry, Akshita, go ahead. No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I don't.
I was just trying to sum it up into whatever we have discussed. A little confusing about what this
Yeah, please,
concept
please go ahead.
is. This is going to be the first time I sum anything
Please
up.
go ahead and sir. Yes, yes, yes. This episode is so many firsts, but you go ahead and summarize.
Yes. So no. So I was just saying. I don't know if I'm going to sum it up correctly, but what I've gathered from our discussion is a friend zone can be is now in pop culture taken up as a very negative thing because of how it is being portrayed in society. That okay, you are not eligible enough to be with somebody, and that's why you've been put into a friend zone. Now this can have negative factors which include I think we discussed this about just throwing the word friend around, even though that person is not actually a friend. Just
Mm.
friend zoning him is giving him the entire concept of being a friend, and then eventually that person might have hopes or expectations that okay, as a friend I might try to continue more and get there eventually. Dhruv spoke about how nice guys, I think this was one of our topic options as well, Anna. Nice guys finished last.
I think it was, but
Very apt for this
discussion. Yeah.
discussion. So we spoke about that, and yeah, because we were a little all over the place, my thoughts are also all over the place. But I feel like it's it's a little, this entire concept is a bit toxic because it affects both the parties in play, and we should definitely, I mean, if you're someone on the giving end of it, you should be more thoughtful of how the other person is going to receive it, not just for the sake of putting that person away or like stopping that person's advances. You should just not friend zone him. Just say that phrase and finish it off. And we also, the person on the receiving end, you need to be more. I mean, you need to be mature about it. You can't be butthurt about the fact that you've been friend zoned and then take it negatively. So as both of you all rightly mentioned, I think Blue also mentioned this, maturity is a big part of play in this entire friend zone concept. If you're not mature enough to give and take this entire two-way communication thing, then it might not work out well. But I have seen this. I have seen people being friends for so long and having this entire situation, and then coming out of it strong because they both have been mature about how they've dealt with it. So I think yes, that's it from my side.
I think that covers it. I mean, the conclusion from this is that you should not, uh, like, if you want to do nice things for someone, you should do it because you want to do those nice things, not because you're expecting something in return. And in my personal opinion or experience, that actually is extremely counterproductive to the end result that you're looking for. Uh, there's a quote that says if you treat someone like a celebrity, they'll treat you like a fan. And basically that says that not put people up on a pedestal. And I mean, what basically guys who end up in friend zone, getting friend zone, do is put the other person on a pedestal. And even from the girl's perspective, you don't want to be with someone who does not treat you like an the handful of times where I have been in the position of putting someone in the friend zone was because the other person putting me on a pedestal, and just interacting with them was extremely laborious and not fun at all, or not exciting at all. So yeah, I mean, that is one thing. And but also I feel like the other party should, if they start to see that that person is going out of their way to do things for you, I fail to believe that people in the world are so stupid that they feel that someone is going out of the way, really, really out of the way to do things because of the niceness of their heart, or because they are such good friends of yours, where you don't reciprocate with that kind of favors. So you should stop leading people on. Anything you guys would add to
True,
that?
true. Nope, nothing from my side.
Dhruv?
I think that was pretty much it. That it's bad to lead people on. Definitely hurts a lot.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then, yeah, at the end of the day, if people grow from these experiences, then I guess it was a good experience.
I mean, it was at least a learning experience. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess let's move on to the next segment. I don't think we can go around in circles with this, and I don't think we'll get anywhere. So
It is, yeah. It's now that we're talking about it, like I honestly did not think it's good. Think this topic would be as con convoluted. I don't know if that's the correct word, like
yeah,
confusing
yeah,
to
yeah,
come to a
confused.
conclusion for, but yeah. Yes. Interesting. Very interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's half
Okay.
my life. Yeah, but
That is why Dhruv, we
You're
waited to
the
get you on.
perfect. Yeah, we waited to get you on.
um, so, anyways, let's move on to the next segment of the podcast, which is the funny slash insightful incident of the week. Do either of you have any to share with the class?
I don't have any insightful. I'm just I'm just gonna mention a roast that my mother said that I just mentioned to both of you all before the podcast started, because I feel like a lot of my funny incidents now involve my mom in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, so as I don't know if our listeners know, but I'm right now in Goa, which is a very tropical beachy part of India, and the sun's really harsh right now. It's summer. It's around 35 degrees. So I as a person get tanned really quickly. So I get very tanned very fast. So basically my shade has let's just say it's taken a 180-degree turn from being a very fair, relatively fair, not very fair, a relatively fair person. Now I'm very dark, very brown, almost to the level that my mother once saw me standing near my door, a door which is proper dark brown, chocolate brown in color. And my mom just told me, "Can you stand near the door? I'm going to take a picture, and then you can post the picture with the door behind you and say that I tried to match my face color with the wall, with the door," which a lot of you all might not remember, not understand. But it's a reference to my Instagram post. I forgot that I had to give this reference background, anyways. So, uh, backstory: my captions are my Instagram captions are in a certain format, and my mom basically took that and tried to roast me with my beautiful tan lines on my face and body. That's it, guys. I feel like I messed the story up, but it was funny otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a harsher train wreck than you butchering that joke. It's really extremely funny, but I feel like we can have another segment on the podcast, which is Akshita's mom and me. Like you can have a segment called Mom and Me and just talk about
Oh my
how your mom
god.
has roasted you this week.
It's
uh,
painful.
uh,
Hmm.
how about you, Dhruv? Do you have any
so
insight
my
or
funny
funny
and
incident?
insightful incident from last week would be I was walking with a female friend. Yeah, in quotes, female friend. Uh, just friends. Uh, so we were walking on the road, and these two 14-year-old kids were passing by on a scooty, and I got thrashed by a water balloon after 9 long years. And so they were trying to aim at my friend, but then I came in between, and I got hit. So it was a mix of emotions. I felt violated, weak, shocked, and angry all at the same time. I wanted to run behind them and beat the shit out of them. But then, I got back to my calm and realized that I may have done the same thing about 10 or 11 years ago to some random person. So, life comes around, and that was my funny slash insightful incident.
I think this is how you realize that you're now old. When you become that grumpy uncle who, gets angry when kids are running around with water balloons. That's when you realize that, okay, now I'm old.
Or to really remind me that I'm old, like there's this girl in my neighborhood. Every time I go out of my house, and if she's outside, she starts yelling at me, "Uncle, uncle, uncle." And that is just horrific. Horrific, horrendous, and whatever other synonym you can add.
I
Yeah.
don't know, and I feel like this maybe we should do another episode on. I think we have that as one of the topics you want to talk about. Like when does what at what age does life get better? I honestly don't feel bad about aging. Like I feel like I am happier at 28 than I was at 27. I was happier at 27 than I was at 26. And I mean, like this whole concept of roasting people for getting old and just being sad about being old, I disagree with it. Maybe once you start getting like 55, 60, where you start getting aching bones and you can't do stuff. But in terms of, I mean, Dhruv, you'd agree with me in terms of like autonomy in your life, agency in your life, and in terms of like maturity and happiness, it must have increased compared to the insecure adolescent years where you and I were getting friends on.
I mean, I would say mentally maturity and intelligence and experience wise, definitely age helps.
Yeah.
But autonomy while living at home with Indian parents, I doubt it. Doesn't happen. Even if you're like 60 years old, your mom will always be that figure in your life who'll tell you that don't do this. This can be dangerous, or don't go there. You can get stuck, or you can get hurt, or there's a pandemic going on, so don't take a flight to so and so place. So, and that happens with my dad. Like my grandma does that to my dad. So I don't think autonomy is a real thing in India. Yeah, but other than that, I can say age pretty much helps.
Oh, yes, I agree.
I honestly don't have a funny incident. Again, an insightful quote that I recently read was the opposite of play is not work, the opposite of play is depression. And basically, what that means is that life does not have to be in black and white, where right now, if you're working or if you're studying or you're doing any sort of like monetarily productive work, it's supposed to be boring, and then there's dedicated time where you're having fun. It depends on how much you enjoy the task. So things that can be considered work that has a monetary equivalent, that can also be fun, and that can be considered play. Whereas things which, I mean, you don't like doing, which are hobbies for someone else, might actually be not fun for you. So that was a different perspective. I think I've, like your joke, Akshita, I think I have butchered the meaning out of this quote, which
Oh,
I
it's fine,
will
Anagh. We
formulate.
have our days.
I will formulate my thoughts on this better and then get back. But I feel like today's episode was too many firsts in one. Uh, uh, but anyways, thank you so much for joining in, Dhruv. I don't think we could have had a more better guest for this topic, and the discussion we had was extremely fun. And I think the most insightful part of today's podcast for me was your introduction, where I learned
Oh,
so much
yes,
about
your
you.
introduction,
But
yeah. Oh, very interesting.
uh,
Yes. I'm sure even our listeners,
Well,
oh, so yeah, they'll be excited to know more things about
you.
more than we have heard.
well, thanks, guys. Thank you for having me here. This was great. It was kind of my first time being on a podcast. So you guys made it pretty seamless and easy. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, man.
Uh,
Thank you for joining.
well, I was
And I
going to
think,
ask
yeah, what
you,
Anand
how was your
said,
experience being?
yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess.
No, I was going to. My next question would have been, how was it being on the podcast? And you just answered that for me. So you are on a mission to make me. Dude, this this episode has been extremely. Uh, anyways, yeah, man. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm glad you had a good time. I think it was all you today's episode in terms of kind of driving the discussion, coming up with ideas and research on this topic. And yeah, we had fun. I look forward to the next time you're here. Probably we'll be doing this in person, and then maybe get a few drinks in before we start recording, so that discussion might be even more fun.
Yeah,
I
definitely. I
see.
guess we can have part 2 on maybe like why some nice guys never fall into friend zone.